Start your meeting.
All right, thank you. So this is a meeting of the Parking Commission of the City of St. Louis, and I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant to revised Missouri State Statute 82487. Ms. Ali, can you please take the roll?
Commissioner Tyus, Commissioner Green,
Tanya Kenner, proxy for Comptroller Darlene Green, present.
thank you. Commissioner Williams,
Present.
thank you. Commissioner Freeman,
Present.
thank you. And Chairman Lane.
Present. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from 8/25/2022. So I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Williams.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Ms. Ali, can you take the roll?
Commissioner Tyus, Proxy Kenner,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Chairman Lane.
Aye. Okay, moving on to old business. We have two pieces of old business. The first, since we have a guest here, we'll start with that. Is the permit parking agreement for the Regional Arts Commission. So we began this conversation a little while ago. The only representative that we have here is Ms. Vanessa Cooksey. So I will allow Ms. Vanessa, if you want to speak to anything that's happened in terms of conversations on the part of, I remember last time we met, we had asked the different parties to be able to come together, see what makes sense, as well as have individual conversations with commissioners and to answer any questions. So I will just to let everyone know, I will set it up. So Ms. Cooksey, I'm going to let you speak to conversations that have or have not happened and where you currently stand, and then I will open it up to the commissioners for their thoughts and questions if there are still some.
Thank you so much, Treasurer Lane, and thank you all for allowing me to give you an update. We have continued to reach out to our neighbors, our restaurant neighbors, with regard to parking. We did have an additional company to move in next door. They do have parking in the parking lot that is just east of our building and have not shared any concerns with regard to our current permit parking arrangements, have not received any additional feedback or complaints from the restaurants that are directly across the street and or next door. Did send an email after the last meeting to Commissioner Tyus to have a conversation with her, have not heard back. I feel like her input is important. When we initiated the conversation, she had several ideas, and so we'd love to have that conversation. But it's just been a challenge to actually connect and schedule the meeting, understand everybody is busy, so have not been able to connect with her. Was able to connect with Commissioner Williams and hear her concerns. It was made known to me on August the 29th that the executive director of the East Loop CID resigned. She was one of the primary stakeholders who had concerns about our parking permit, our permitted parking. I have not heard from her and don't know where she went. David Maston, who is the board chair of the East Loop CID, has not reached out either. We reached out to him as the leader of that organization to inquire about the resignation of the executive director and have not been communicated with. So we also have not received any follow-up communication from Alderman Grass, who said that he would reach out and pull us together. So I sent an email, says we actually ran into each other at the Muni and said, hey, let's get together. Sent him an email, look forward to connecting on parking. So it just, we continue to outreach to people who had a concern about our permitted spaces and just have not been able to connect to hear those concerns and or come up with a new plan. The last thing that I will point out is that our 6 spaces, because there is no meaningful enforcement, which is fine for RAC right now. It literally takes all 6 spaces for us to have 3 of them at any given time during the day or evening, as we have been in and out and have had several events that we've sponsored, from music at the intersection to the St. Louis Art Fair. It's a lot of activity for staff in the building, preparing for these events that happen in the evenings and on the weekends. And so with there being no additional community feedback that we've received, we'd like to see the approval of our agreement as is, but certainly welcome any questions or concerns or anything that I can answer for the commissioners.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Cooksey. I will open it up to questions. Before I do, I will acknowledge, I won't speak for her, but on behalf of Alderwoman Tyus, so she and I were able to connect. She apologizes for not being able to get to you. I know her schedule is pretty hectic, especially around the last couple of months. But she did say that I think at first she didn't want any spots, or was, just wondering about the nature of it. But through our conversation, she feels like 6 is too much, but she is okay with 4 or 5. So that is the place where Alderwoman Tyus is. But given that, I know commissioners might also be in different places, so I want to open it up to any questions or comments from the commissioners.
Commissioner Lane, or should I raise my hand? Where am I? Okay.
Oh yeah, you're good. Actually, I probably should just go in order of our role and do that, but go ahead, Ms. Williams.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate the conversation that I had with Ms. Cooksey about the need of the spaces, and just looking at it from a different standpoint of why they were even inquiring about having these dedicated parking spaces in the front of their business. I do still feel that 6 is a lot, but that was prior to what I just heard you speak of, that there's 6 out there currently, and you all are fighting to get 3 on, when you need them. I guess my only other question will be about the enforcement, which is really an internal question. We have something out there with signage that is not being enforced, and I'm not sure, is it worth us putting signs up for something that's not being enforced, but you're half meeting the goal of at least you're getting the 3 spots? Because that would have been my recommendation, that we allow them to have 3 spots in front of their establishment. But on average, if all they're getting is 3, then, might be okay. But so yeah, that's all I wanted to state. And then how long has this been in place already?
Our agreement was signed, I believe, on effective May 1st. So we're still very early in the agreement. It was for a full year. We, of course, paid for the full year upfront to ensure that the city was getting what it needed. And just based on the activity that's happening in the loop, we've got the trolley that is active certain days a week and certain times of the day. As I understand it, the trolley will stop running, I think, October 31st for the winter season. And just the amount of traffic that's happening, RAC team members continue to feel safe and efficient with our current arrangement, and don't necessarily need or require enforcement at this time. We like to just see the current agreement through the year, just so that we can be tracking data and understanding the rhythms of our street and what's happening, and then revisit prior to expiration to say, here's what we've learned with the data that we've collected. Here's what we think is good for renewal. But if we're able to maintain the 6, so we could at least have 3, that would be good. And we don't seek enforcement at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Cooksey. Thank you, Ms. Williams. But along that question, since it is internal, Lenny, if you want to, can you provide some just insight into just our enforcement efforts right now, not just on the loop, but across the city, and just kind of what we're noticing for trends with enforcement?
Sure, no problem. As everybody knows, finding people to work is a challenge right now. So that's what we're up against. We're up against trying to find, qualified people to do enforcement. We're down, probably about a good 6 or 7 people. So if you need enforcement, I always encourage, call the office and we will send somebody out there as quickly as possible. But right now, that's our biggest problem right now, or challenge, is finding the qualified people.
Gotcha. Thank you, Lenny. So I'll keep going. Ms. Kenner, any questions or comments?
Yes, I have just a few. Ms. Cooksey, currently, because your agreement states May 1, I think it's 2022 to sometime in 2023. What is actually, since May 1 to the current date, what is the status or the current status, since you actually say you've already paid upfront for the period? What have you received as the benefit for this period?
Our team members and commissioners are able to park in the spaces in front of our building. We have a red hang tag that we put in the front of our cars to say that we have a permit to park. And so our team members and commissioners park in the spaces as they are available. Again, we don't call for any form of enforcement. We feel like that's part of our being a good neighbor. So we have had both the convenience and the safety of being able to park in front of our building. We have 9 full-time team members, 7 part-time team members, and 14 commissioners. So clearly we have just the people who engage RAC on a regular basis, way more people than we have spaces. And so anyone who comes to the building and there are no spaces, either because team members or commissioners are already parked there, or the general public is already parked there, park behind the pageant, and which is what we've done since we've moved into this building over the last 20 years, and or find other street parking as available.
So you have how many spots that you are occupying right now for the amount that you paid for?
6.
So, okay, so you currently have 6, and that's what's in the contract, and that's what you pay for. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
No more questions. Treasurer Lane.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kenner. Mr. Freeman.
No, I don't have any questions.
So I do want to have an opportunity to do 2 things. One, I do want Mr. Maston to not feel like he didn't have an opportunity to speak, because he did show up last time. It just wasn't on the agenda. So I do want to make sure that he has that opportunity. So I won't entertain a motion right now. I will, if need be, and he just forgot or didn't know, if we need to schedule a special session just to vote on something, we can. But my ask to the commissioners is I think we still haven't really settled on a number. And I think the questions and that you all have asked can get us to that number. And I think the color that Ms. Cooksey has provided is also helpful for that. So I think my ask to the commissioners is think about what number because when we put the motion forward, it will be for a number of spots. What number you all would be comfortable with, so that we're not making, all right, motion for 6, motion for 5, motion for 4, but just figuring out what that number is for you all, so that the next time that we do meet, whether that's next week or whether that's next month, that we can put that number forward in a motion for final approval. All right, well, thank you, Ms. Cooksey, for taking time out of your morning to join us.
Thank you all so much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
All right, so the next order of business is the Lot 177 update. So that is a slow-moving process. But I just want to give the commission a little update on where we are with that. So again, for purposes of familiarity, that is the lot that is behind Washington Ave, right next to the convention center. And our proposal was accepted by SLDC a little while ago. And moving forward with that, we are currently, we just approved a contract after getting 5 bids to go ahead with the with the soil
Center.
sample. The what now?
No, go ahead.
Yes, so to get the land survey done. So looking at the soil samples, understanding what is under there and what we can build on top of it. So just getting that out of the way, and that's going to go to our design build team. So we know that just to make sure that we can put up the structure that we want to put up there. The second update is that after doing our due diligence with the businesses and organizations in the area that would look to secure that parking, going from an initial proposal of 1,200 spaces for the garage down to about 960 spaces based on that demand, which will also reduce the overall cost of the parking structure. We also completed a parking study with Desmond. They were in town. They did a study in that area as well as for other services that we have for parking to be able to get the data needed to finalize the financial projections so that we can understand where we will be on the financing side and where what supports we would need and what supports are in place for a cash flow or a revenue bond that we would be looking to issue. So our advisor, Brandon Comer, is on the line. I know he's mostly just listening, but if there's anything that either I missed or anything you wanted to add there, Brandon, feel free to jump in and add that now.
Okay, appreciate that, Treasurer, and apologies I'm not on camera, but I think you actually covered everything. But I'm definitely here to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the one thing I did miss, because we did have our update this morning, is just the timeline. So we're looking to get those financial numbers or the numbers that we need for finalizing the financials by hopefully latest Monday of next week. And then Brandon said he could probably turn around the projections in about 48 hours. So hopefully next Wednesday.
Yeah, and so just to add on to that, once we have the numbers from the parking study, what we're doing is just putting that into the model to see what that leverages out to, meaning what the proposed facility has the ability to support from a debt standpoint, and then sizing that against what the design team is putting together from a cost perspective based on the size of the facility. And then seeing what gap may exist that we would need other sources of funds for.
Excellent. All right.
Treasurer Lane, could you give the commissioners a description of the location of the lot 177?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So lot 177 is between 9th and 11th Street on, I believe it's Lucas Ave, so a block behind Wash Ave, or a block north of Washington Avenue, and right behind Lucas Ave. So it is, a block south of the Board of Education downtown. I can probably, let me see if I can share. I do have sharing. I can share my screen to give a better description. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. All right, does it look like a map? You all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is right. So this is Wash Ave, this is Rooster, and it is right behind here. So this would be the convention center on the right side. You have the Holiday Inn that's right there, and then the Board of Education that's back here. So it's this area right here. So that's between 11th and 10th, sorry, 11th and 10th, and between Convention and Lucas. Okay. Any other questions, Ms. Kenner?
No.
All right, Ms. Williams.
No questions.
No. All right, Mr. Freeman.
No questions.
Okay. All right, none for me. All right, thank you. Thank you, Brandon. And we will continue to move on. So the next order of business is the RFP that is going to be issued, or I don't know, is it already issued, Shirley? It is. So the RFP that's issued for administrating hearing officers, I will pass it over to Shirley. That has to do with our Parking Violations Bureau. I'll pass it over to Shirley to give the report.
Thank you, Chairman Lane. Good morning, Commissioners. We did release an RFP for administrative hearing officers. You all received a copy. We released it on, I believe it was September 14th. It is posted on our St. Louis Treasurer website, also the city's website. We also have it running for 3 weeks in the St. Louis American, and that had started on September 15th. So is today Thursday? So today is the second week it'll be running. The deadline to respond is October the 7th. And the intent of the RFP is to get a pool of qualified candidates to fill our positions. We currently have 3 positions for administrative hearing officers at our Parking Violations Bureau. Currently have 3 attorneys that work part-time, adjudicating contested parking tickets. Their current contracts expire the end of this month. They were originally entered into in September of 2019. All 3 had a 2-year contract with a 1-year option to extend. So their contracts expire the end of this month. And we're hoping that by issuing this RFP that we will have a qualified pool of candidates to interview and select from and offer new contracts. The one thing that I wanted to point out about this RFP is that our current contract rate is $72 an hour. I did in this RFP, I increased that amount up to an amount of $100, so not to exceed $100. And I'm doing that primarily because the same contract rate has been paid for ever since the inception of the Parking Violations Bureau. So sometime in the early 2000s. So those attorneys have been working diligently for $72 an hour. That is just not a competitive rate in this year. So hoping that everyone is okay with that increase. We've listed qualifications to include, of course, a Missouri bar license and just general experience and understanding of municipal ordinances and the entire administrative law process. So the deadline to respond is October the 7th. I'm currently working on establishing a selection committee. The last time this was RFP'd, it was in 2013. And at that time, the selection committee consisted of Jared Boyd, who was chief of staff of this office, a member of the city councilor's office, and then also Miss Elaine Spearman, who was an attorney with the comptroller's office. So I'm going to work on forming that selection committee. Not sure exactly what that looks like. As I indicated, the city councilor's office had a primary lead in this process back in 2013. However, at this point, they are an adverse party to this office in the Wilson v. City of St. Louis parking matter case. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I will be working on forming that selection committee. I'm doubtful that we're going to have anything in place anytime soon. So the intent is to renew the current contracts on a monthly basis until we can diligently go through this process, interview, and select additional candidates. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Shirley. So yeah, we will go in order. So Ms. Kenner, any questions or comments for Shirley?
Just two questions. My first question is the current increase from $72 to $100 reflected in the current budget?
That is a good question. We have Michelle Smart participating. I believe that these expenses would fall under our professional services budget. We did increase our professional services budget for this year, but I will let Michelle.
I can answer should I answer?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it is not specifically added into the budget, but there are, and it would be under our legal expenses now, the way that we code things with the ERP transition. But there are monies available to reflect this and to be able to absorb this increase based on some other things that have changed within the budget.
Okay. Thanks, Michelle. My second question was, so that was one change in the RFP. Were there any changes from our prior RFP? Because I don't think we received a red line, but any major changes or?
No, this is the same RFP that was issued back in 2013. It was drafted with the assistance of the city councilor's office at that time. I did review prior to that, and I believe under former treasurer Larry Williams, he had issued an RFP at one point. So it's also similar to that one. But no, the only other change, and just to be clear, it says up to $100. So we may have some responses that a candidate might be willing to work for less than that. But
Sure.
At $72 an hour, I have all the administrative officers have reached out to me, and it's difficult to even retain the ones that we have at the current amount of $72. Right now, each of the officers, they all work part-time, anywhere between maybe 4 and 8 hours a week. They're each assigned one night. So there's hearings held 3 nights a week. We have 3 officers, and each one works, one night a week. Now, when there's somebody's off on vacation or they have a trial going on, they will ask for one of the other officers to cover. And occasionally they might need to have, somebody, a fellow colleague cover, and at $72 an hour, it's difficult for them as independent contractors to find coverage.
Totally not an objection to the increase in the hourly wage. Just want to know, was there any other changes in the RFP or in the new RFP?
No.
Okay.
No other changes, just the person receiving the responses, was obviously Jared Boyd. Now it's myself.
Okay. Thanks, Shirley. That's all I have, Treasurer Lane.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Kenner. Ms. Williams.
Oh, my question was answered. Thank you.
Sounds good. Mr. Freeman?
No questions.
And none for me either, Shirley. So that wraps up new business, but there are 2 items they're non-voting. Or actually, do we have to vote on the RFP being approved? No, we don't. So just a notice. All right,
Okay.
sounds good.
Just note it, and hopefully at the next monthly parking commission meeting, I'll be able to provide an update and tell y'all where we're at that point.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Shirley. So 2
But
items.
Treasurer Lane, I do have a question. Shirley, will we have to vote on the contracts? Okay.
Yes.
We will-
Mhm. Yeah, we will present those for approval. Thank you.
Okay.
So two things, also non-voting things, but I did want to quickly make this body aware of. One, and just put on our radar. One is that the surface lot safety bill, or a new one, is up at the Board of Aldermen. So if you're unfamiliar, there was one introduced by Alderman Jack Coder last session that just didn't go through. Alderman Page has taken up that board bill, and of course we are in support of the board bill that does provide for safety measures to be put in place to secure our lots, to make sure that residents and visitors of the city of St. Louis have a safe parking experience. So I will be speaking with him because there are a few things in there, and I will make sure I send that out. Well, I know Shirley already has it ready. So Shirley, if we can just make sure we send that out to all the commissioners as well, so you all can take a look at it. It does provide for some safety measures. One of the things that I was telling Alderman Coder when we spoke about the board bill was just the costs associated with it, and whether or not there would be provisions to help subsidize those costs, not just for our parking division, but for privately owned and managed lots, surface lots across the city. The goal is, again, to make them safer and to keep them updated, but knowing that there are some costs which we have figured out and have already presented to the alderman about what this would take. And we don't want it to be a case where there's someone who operates maybe a small lot, but the cost of the improvements far outweighs the benefit to them actually operating it. And now we have a vacant lot, which is no more safe. So I will be working with Alderman Page to see how we can make sure that the true intent and full intent of the bill to provide that safety and not do any undue harm to citizens or businesses in the area. So yeah, so I'll be talking to him about that, but just wanted to let everyone know that that is on the Board of Aldermen's calendar. The other thing is just with permit parking. So we have been getting a lot more requests for permit parking, as hopefully everyone knows, but maybe it's new. We did Park Central Development Corporation in the Forest Park Southeast neighborhood, no longer, because it was just no longer financially feasible, and from a staff capacity standpoint, didn't make sense to continue with their residential parking program that was there. So we graciously accepted the challenge of taking that on. And so right now we are working on our infrastructure to make sure that we can successfully implement that. But there have been more calls for it. So I have been in communication with Alderwoman Peel and some neighbors in the Forest Park Southeast area on what it would look like to have a full-fledged program, extend that program, and then what it would look like for the entire city. So just wanted to put those two things on this commission's radar that will be coming up, and things that our office will be working on, especially from a budgetary standpoint, because I think that, and I'll put this out there because I don't think a lot of people understand that the parking division is self-funded. So the city does not provide funds to the parking division to operate. The money that the parking division makes goes into our operation costs. So any additional things like permit parking, especially when it's not the most financially lucrative decision, we'll say, these things do cost, and we have to think about them in smart and strategic ways to, of course, make sure that we're serving the city as best as possible, but that we're also operating from a frame of sustainability. I see your hand, Ms. Williams.
I just want to make sure that I understood. We're looking at a process that we could possibly or potentially take over parking districts, that like residential parking districts or business parking districts that we've currently established. We're looking at something internal through our parking district to figure out how we can take those over. Because right now they currently have a ordinance and a process that they go through for a residential parking district or business parking district. And so what we're saying, we're looking at some way to take that over.
Not exactly, but
Okay.
I thank you for the question. More so for areas where I guess the district is already established. So we don't run the parking division doesn't run any districts at all. But there are some places like, again, with the Park Central Development Corporation that are wanting to relinquish it. So we didn't go and say, hey, we'd like to have that. It's more of a, hey, we can't do this anymore, but you all do parking. So can you take this over? So just figuring out ways that it works across the city, because I would imagine in places it looks different. So how do we standardize and kind of bring that to scale is part of the goal. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think that will help out because I do get now the parking districts, residential parking districts that go out, they have to have an ordinance and approved by my office, and we put signage out and all of those things. So just understanding that process. And yes, now we're getting to the point where a lot of these private owners are saying we want out, or it's not lucrative for us, or it's become a headache across the city in different areas. And so identifying how we could assist with that, I think will be really good.
Yep. Ms. Kenner, any questions or comments?
No question.
All right, Mr. Freeman.
No questions.
Okay, so that is it. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Ms. Ali, can you take the roll, please?
Commissioner Tyus, Proxy Kenner,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Chairman Lane.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Treasurer.
Oh,
Treasurer.
yes.
We also set a City of St. Louis Parking Commission Finance Corporation meeting to follow at 11.
Oh, sorry.
So if everybody can stay on.
Can we do that? That's public, right?
Yes.
Okay, can we just roll right into that now then? Or do we have to start at 11?
No, I actually set it for 11:30, so you're fine. We can just
Oh, I'm sorry.
proceed and
It's already past 11. Anyway. All right, thank you. Let me see. Let me get my PDF up. Now, do we have to have a separate ordinance to go into that? Or
we just use the
like
same
that?
one since it's an
Okay.
arm of the Parking Commission. Parking Commission is its sole member.
Okay, so I would like to call so that is adjourned. So I would like to call to order the meeting of the City of St. Louis Parking Commission Finance Corporation pursuant to Missouri State Statute 82, revised Missouri State Statute 82487. Ali, can you take the roll?
Commissioner Tyus, Proxy Kenner,
Proxy for Comptroller Darlene Green, Latanya Kenner present.
Commissioner Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Freeman,
Present.
Chairman Lane.
Present. Gotcha. All right, so first order of business is the approval of the June 23rd, 2022 meeting minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second, Williams.
Been properly moved and seconded. Ms. Ali, can you take the roll?
Commissioner Tyus, Proxy Kenner,
Abstain.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Chairman Lane.
Next item is a vote to amend the bylaws. So I'll pass it over to Shirley to give an explanation, and then we can, and then I'll entertain a motion.
Thank you, Chairman Lane. You all have been provided with a redlined copy of the amended bylaws a couple months back. We saw the need to update the bylaws. The bylaws are from year 2003, and the bylaws did not really reflect exactly how this body nor the parking commission, its sole member, operates. So we engaged the services of attorney Cheryl Walker, who has vast experience in corporations, non-for-profits, and drafting bylaws. I just wanted to go over a few of the amendments. Hopefully you've all had a chance to review the document. I just wanted to go over some of the more important changes in section 2.6, the notice of meetings. There was quite a bit of, sentences and verbiage about notices. So we just changed that language to reflect notice will be in the same manner that we provide notice for the parking commission. So we provide at least 24 hours notice. We post them on our website, city's website, and also outside our official offices. Place of meeting, the next section, 2.7, we did add video conferencing as a means of meeting. Going further into Article 3, Section 3.2, the directors. So the 2003 bylaws indicate that the board shall consist of 5 individuals. And we would actually like to increase it either just to have a number of individuals that does not exceed 7. In the past, the board usually consisted of the 5 members of the parking commission. However, years ago, there was oftentimes a member of the city councilor's office. So just wanted to increase that from 5 with the opportunity to increase to 7 if you all ever saw the need to add an additional member. Additionally, we added language that the commissioners of the parking commission will serve as directors, which has been customarily in place for years, and that the directors may decide to increase to up to 7 and elect 2 additional members outside of the parking commissioners. Moving on to section 3.7, vacancies. As you all know, the parking commission commissioners change because of the members that are delineated by state statute, one of them being the chair of streets, the current comptroller. So as those people might change, or we might have new people filling those positions, that way they will just move into the spot of director. Further in section 3, 310, 11, 12. The current bylaws indicated that meetings would be held on January 1st, April 1st, October 1st. So we basically just changed it that there will be a meeting as the parking commission deems necessary and appropriate, at least every quarter. So quarterly, and these meetings will just follow the parking commission meetings as was done today. Moving on to section 5, appointment of officers. And this is relative to the next agenda item. Our attorney had recommended that the positions of president, treasury, and secretary be filled, which is what the current bylaws say. But we just, once again, streamlined it to what has been customarily done throughout the years, with the chairman of the parking commission serving as president and treasury of the corporation. And then section 5.6, in regards to the secretary, customarily in the past, the parking administrator served as secretary. However, it is our belief that a more appropriate secretary would actually be a member of our parking division staff and the secretary who currently serves as the parking commission secretary. So our position would be that it would make sense that Ms. Connie Ali serve as that role. So prior to moving to the next item on the agenda, which is actual, the appointment of the officers, does anyone have any questions about?
Quick question, Shirley, and I'm sorry I didn't catch this before, but in order to hold the officer positions, wouldn't that person need to be a member of the Park
They
and
would
Recreation
not
Committee?
necessarily need to be a board member or a commissioner. It
Okay,
is not limited to that, so.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thank you. And that is something that specifically I spoke about with Ms. Walker.
Excellent.
And if you read the description of secretary, it's not really the duties or the tasks that the parking administrator is accompanied to doing. So it's giving notice, serving as custodian of records, drafting the minutes.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Anything else, Shirley?
Not in regards to the bylaws, no.
Sounds good. So I will entertain a motion to approve the bylaws as amended. If we have a motion in a second, we can go into discussion.
Motion to approve the new bylaws.
I'll second it. So we have a motion in a second. So now we can open up to discussion. Any questions? We'll start with Ms. Kenner.
I don't have any questions. I still have this out just for a second review.
Okay.
From my office, and there were just a few I can never pronounce this word. Shirley, help me. Substantive. Substantive.
Substantive.
So I have a few changes that will be coming, but for the most part, I don't think they will alter the bylaws as stated.
Okay. All right. Ms. Williams?
I don't have any questions or concerns.
All right. Mr. Freeman?
No questions.
I think I already stated mine. So even with those changes, so we do have the motion on the table. We can take the vote, and you all can vote how you feel. So Ms. Ali, can you take the roll, please? Oh, you're on mute, Ms. Ali.
Commissioner Tyus, Proxy Kenner,
Because I do have some upcoming changes, I'm going to abstain at this point.
Commissioner Williams,
Nay.
Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Chairman Lane.
I'm an aye, but I don't know what that means. We have 2 aye votes, a nay and an abstain. I don't know if that's a majority. Go ahead, Shirley. I think that is that a majority pass?
I was just gonna say, we do need a majority pass.
Okay, but we do have that.
My only question, and why, let me turn my lights on, sorry. My only reason for the nay was whatever changes that are going to be, Proxy Kenner is going to submit to us. I think we need to know what that is, and that's what we should be voting on. It's not that I have anything to vote against the current, what we have here, but if she's saying she's going to submit changes to us, I think that we should be voting on that. That's my only.
Understood.
Chairman Lane,
Yep.
if I may suggest, after Commissioner Director Kenner provides us with those changes, if they're all agreeable, perhaps we can just pass this by resolution and not hold another meeting.
Yeah, we can do that. Would that require a separate motion?
No.
Okay, but since we did vote, we do need to know what the results of the vote were. So with 2 yays and abstain and a nay, does the motion carry? I think Shirley froze. Did you hear me, Shirley?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you were asking me. So we have an abstention, we have a
Yeah.
nay, and we have 2.
Yeah.
So because of the abstention, I believe we
Mhm.
have a majority, so it would pass.
Okay, so then to approve by resolution, that would just be with in our next meeting with the changes that come forward.
I think that we can just pass it around by resolution and not meet again in regards to this.
Okay, so then with that, you will, when you have those changes, you will send that to the commission, Ms. Kenner?
Yes,
Or I guess not the commission, the corporation.
to the corporation members, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. So the next thing is the appointment of the officers. I will turn that over to Shirley. I know you spoke about it within the bylaws, but can you just give us an update on, or just walk us through what that process would be?
Sure. Just to reiterate, we would like to appoint the president, treasurer, and secretary. Those 3 positions we have customarily appointed. There is language in the current bylaws and the revised bylaws, if you all would like a vice president. In the past, we have not deemed that necessary. So if this body can proceed with appointing a president, a treasurer, and also a secretary, and it is our recommendation that president and treasurer be held by the current treasurer, Adam Lane, and that the secretary position be held by the secretary of the Parking Commission, Ms. Connie Ali.
Shirley, repeat that again. You said that your recommendation is for Treasurer Lane to be the president?
The president and also the treasurer of this body.
Okay, so if Treasurer Lane is the president, Ms. Connie Ali is the secretary, can you tell me the rationale for Treasurer Lane also being the treasurer?
So a director is able to hold the 2 positions. And if you look at the description of section 5.5, the treasurer shall have custody and be responsible for all the funds and securities of the finance corporation. And it's all financial tasks. She'll also have custody and be responsible for the maintenance of the books of the account of the finance corporation, and shall perform such other duties from time to time as may be assigned to him by law. And after discussions with Cheryl Walker, we felt that the treasurer, in his capacity of the treasurer of the city of St. Louis, be the most qualified candidate to serve in that position. And if I might add, the most qualified of the members of the board of directors. You know, Miss Ali is not a member of the board of directors. However, with the position of secretary, those tasks are more administrative. And we felt that she was the appropriate party to proceed as secretary. But we felt that, of course, president and treasurer should be a member of this board.
Definitely. Okay, thank you for the rationale.
Shirley, can we do this wholesale, like all in one motion?
I believe so. If someone would like to make a motion to appoint those 3 positions, and as long as everybody approves or consents.
That's good.
Motion
So
to
we will
approve.
entertain a motion for the appointment of the officers as stated. So to reiterate, that would be for myself, Treasurer Lane, as president and treasurer, and for Ms. Connie Ali to be the secretary.
Motion to approve all three positions.
Second.
Ms. Ali, can you take the roll?
Sure. Commissioner Tyus. Proxy Kenner,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Freeman,
Aye.
Chairman Lane.
Aye. All right, so that is approved. All right, so the last thing is just to adjourn. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Calls for
Previous.
I'll call for previous roll. Any objection to previous roll? Okay, hearing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you and have a great day. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a good one.
Thanks.